and your appetite for war, it's ending soon. Like a musty, dusty old ship with no pleasure. The oranges of compassion make you fall back into the arms of a myriad stranger. Make no admission, make no guilt, make no thought. Oh, your things of making this sort of emotionless emotional? It won't work forever. Like a old idea that just seems to fall back into a cradled baby's back with parts and tenders and so many steel things that just don't come together. Because literally it starts at the beginning. Again. I'm hopeful. Your ideas won't fall into the cradle's back of a styrofoam or a mongoose, because somehow you're taking upon yourself the idea of ventricle thought, trying to make everything unleashed into one furious lightning bolt going everywhere, every single second, like when a line off the telephone poles are broken. When they fall down, they kill. And they kill pretty simply now in these days, and all you need is a long pipe. Not even a long pipe, one of those things that you're fixing with, the fisher lines, so to speak, and you just break it, and you come back with unstartled that, and you're just dead. Because that's as fast as it goes. Recently it's been happening a lot. People are dying that way. And so we find every substance of thought come with a breaking point of skateboards. Trying to slide on the floor like a I don't even know what. What slides? Nothing really. Skateboard supposedly slides like a surfboard. And like a slide that you go on. So pretty much we become the slide and skateboard, and boom, an idea comes back with that thought and barreling mixture. So, you're breaking negative compassion without every single other thought coming back without every other but more. So you didn't buy anything more. Sometimes you just have an idea of what you want. Other times you break and leave. You don't come back. Sometimes you scream at everybody and say, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. Yeah, that's how you like it sometimes. Because you see something better, like a fish without a, like a fish on a calendar, or a fish in a picture on a wall. You see something better. Oh, that looks better. Okay, that looks better. Whatever. I should say. Sorry, excuse me. That came out of nowhere. I should just say, I'm not an ornament person. Not an ornament person, not a wall person, not a whatever person. I keep what I need, and I need what I keep. Sounds like a pirate's theme coming. Yeah. Well, I mean, literally it's not, but I mean, just saying that, yeah. There is some truth to that. It just comes from something that's just, oh, well, you're emotionless then. No, not really. Because, in fact, I could just say in the last 20-odd years, and so on, maybe more, there's something that just sort of says, most of the things that we have now don't really add up to much. And it's not because, they're not important. Mostly because of what it came from. Usually ornaments, all the ornaments that my mom has, for example, only comes from hoarding. Mostly. Yeah, and mostly it does. Except if it's a gift from somebody else, or obviously holidays, if you want to call it that. Literally, those things can be got around, though. Literally, those things can be got around, because it's like, if it's something of a holiday, oh, well, I'll get something for her. I won't get something that's like all these ornaments or anything. Of course not. Because to me, those aren't important things. I find out something she needs. There's a difference. Then I get that. Boom. Idea broken, come back in stone, and make everybody feel alone. Because obviously, like a Rembrandt, you don't need anything else to make somebody happy. Just one. And so it comes without a fleece, you know. Because the wolf came with fleece, and the sheep came with fleece. This one didn't come with fleece. Yeah, well, it's easy to drag everything else into this. But that's the way it goes with this Destructo Mirror. And you just sort of say, well, what is he talking about? What is she talking about? What are they talking about? Yeah. What? You? Yeah, and that's where it comes from. What is it, Martha? Well, Marcello, we can't be friends anymore. Sorry, you're being too much of a martyr. Martyr? Wait a minute, did I ever say I was a martyr? Well, you don't need to. It's the way you're acting right now that's saying it. Wait a minute. The way I'm acting brings out that answer. That doesn't make sense. I'd have to actually admit, one, that I would be, doing this on purpose. That doesn't make much sense because I wouldn't destroy something so easily, fast, without any thought of my conscience blogs, and so everything else wouldn't come back into me. It wouldn't. Nobody would pay attention to it that much. In fact, the people would probably look at it and go, what the hell is this guy writing? And think, why the hell is he writing this? And there you go. Identity, broken, fall, damn, and miracle. Miracle. I mean, that's what it becomes. Like everybody thinks you can't be a martyr, Of course. They want to label anything. People want to label anything that's not activity of the usual. Sarcasm, cynicism. Which is usually the usual mentality of people nowadays. The easy way out of saying, I'm so funny, don't take me seriously. Bam! There you go. That's what you have to be. You can't talk seriously at all. You gotta just break down without a flow of every idea that makes go into the thought and flog and everything else, and just sort of, oh no, you can't go that far. Boom, 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 boom. Like the ideas of center thought without mega thought and throats and everything else, and sort of backwards, forwards, ideas, mark, boom. There you go. So then the sensitivity level comes back with a huge effect, like, oh God, my stomach and my arms and my circle around me, boom. Oh no, I can't think any more of that. You can't bring me any more thoughts like that. You can't bring any more thoughts like that. You can't bring any more thoughts like that. Boom! Because you're a bad person for doing something like that. So I'm going to call you a martyr at the same point. What the hell? That doesn't even make sense. You're going to call me a martyr? That doesn't even make sense right there. The argument doesn't make sense. Well, it's just because you're talking like that. Nobody talks like that with me. Nobody talks like that with me. Nobody talks like that with me. Boom, 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 boom. And it becomes that sort of like, a pressurized cabin of a matrix thought, and they're going to go... psh. So, there you go. Silence is not, is not going to come without this. I mean, obviously. But, I mean, it comes with that. Everybody, everybody in that sense. In that sense, yes, everybody. But, I mean, eventually, even if you do not have that sort of mentality where you believe everybody what they're saying, like myself now. So, if somebody says something against anything, then I'm like, well, you know what? You just don't, you just don't have the same view as I do, belief as I do. That's fine. But I always tell them, remember that this came from me. This didn't come from anybody else. It can come from from sources that I'm reading and everything else, but besides that, it's not a great flow of danger that comes from everything around me. Because obviously we're not going to, throw everybody into the cabin without wings, Because obviously you need a wooden cabin, and you need a raw desert, or a raw forest. It's like a jack-o'-lantern without the thought, everybody thinks that we're going to get everybody's thought within a ventricle of measure where it's going to come together. Because that's how you move forward, supposedly, is if everybody has the same thought. Well, no, technically you don't need anybody agreeing with each other to come with any conclusion of answers. Because when it comes to everything else, you're just sort of like, oh, I'm going to get you this time. You're going to get me this time with what? With what measure of thought? Huh? Pretty much just climax of push down, you know. It's like fake orgasms everywhere. Pretty much that's what it is. Is that people just don't want to accept any other people's views. But see, they don't want to just do that. They want to bastardize you to the full completeness. So they just say, martyr, you're a martyr. Yeah, of course, because everybody who was supposedly a martyr, I'm not going to say any of the people that are still considered martyrs because they're dead, because their actions don't lead to much if they're dead. Obviously, everything that anybody who we've considered martyrs in our lifetime that did any changes, that actually made some changes, were taken away by the instant they died. So pretty much there you go. Everything reverted back to what it was, and in fact probably got worse. So it didn't actually change much, even if they were omitting to change things. It doesn't mean much if they're dead. You know? Because, I mean, you gotta go with brute force when it comes to change. And brute force doesn't just come with words. Words are easily susceptible to lies, and that's what they are now. So anything and anybody is a fake with that. You know, the actions speak louder. And if people hate somebody, well, of course, then you should be paying attention to them and figure out what's going on here. Why is this person hated so much by everybody? And then go, wow, hey, that's interesting. But why are they so mad at him? There's other people that talk about the same thing. And let's see. It's a pretty easy march. You know, it's not something that you can't see cradled within the baby of your arms, because it's within that same sort of thing, you know. It's the sandwich god, you know. It's the idea of, well, I want that too, but, you know, you won't fight for it. You'll have a protective shield against anybody talking about it. So pretty much anything that you personally want to happen, you'll fight against, because you have already gotten to the point where it's like, I don't know if I'd risk my life for it. Well, if you won't, then, you know, literally, it's pointless to look at these dead people as if they change things. Think about it. There's no point. Why pay attention to their lives? Because they made an impact. They only made an impact in their life. They didn't make an impact in their death. In fact, everything that happened in somebody's death actually fully homogenized their whole impact into a single moment. And that's it. It became a sphere. Like, that's it, you know, the box. The closed section of a mirror that you won't see. It doesn't change anything, because nobody else got upset, you know. Of course not. Because they lessened. They didn't take attention to, you know. So it doesn't matter if, you know, you call somebody a martyr or trying to be a martyr or whatever. These words have become bad. Martyrdom is bad now. It ain't a good thing. Nobody likes saying, hey, you know my friend over there? He's a martyr. Ah, yeah, gotta give him credit over there. Who the hell? You know, who the hell would say that? No one. Because you like, well, you like everybody else's definition of things. You know, that's pretty simple. Cynicism and sarcasm. But at its greatest peak, which comes to the real point of, you like going to the point of jokes that are so unattainable that you can't be taken seriously at that point. So pretty much jokes don't mean... Pretty much there's no message in anything, because you're making such a joke that you don't want to be taken seriously. But guess what? Within that, I don't want to be taken seriously, people are going to take you seriously. Duh. You know? And people think everybody came to be a murderer, criminal, rapist, everything else on their own. Yeah, right. That's a joke, and if it did happen on their own, it would be other reasons. It would be personal reasons that affected their lives. I'm not saying those personal reasons did not happen, but I'm not saying that nothing else can really, you know, create it. I mean, oh, yeah, well, it's freedom of speech. Well, yeah, of course it's freedom of speech. But what the fuck isn't freedom of speech? A lot of things are not freedom of speech, even if we say they are, because we put down other people because of their beliefs and because of their speech. So pretty much, not everybody's being put down. Of course not. The majority of people that agree with everything, and don't give me that crap about, oh, I don't agree with everything. Well, if you really don't agree with everything, you would accept somebody else's view. It doesn't matter if you personally don't. You would accept it and you wouldn't put somebody down for it. Because you wouldn't spend the time to put somebody down for it. You would just go back to your view and say, I personally don't believe that. Okay. But it's like the broccoli thing. It goes back to the old broccoli thing. You know, you have to feed somebody broccoli. Yeah, it works the same way. You know, people are kids. They don't want to, they want to be fed it. They want to be fed it. Feed me, feed me. They don't want to do it on their own. I personally like critical thinking, researching on my own. And if a lot of people say, well, no, that's not real stuff, that's not real information, because the news is not saying it, fuck the news. The news doesn't have to say it anymore. The news makes a narrative of everything. I don't believe that everything works like a narrative. That's a joke in itself, because we cannot get all the information. We make up a narrative, in fact. We make up a whole story. We even take parts that we didn't know about and make it up right there. So who the fuck does that if we have all the information? Oh, guess what? We don't get all the information. That's the fucking joke right there. So, I don't believe it because we can make up certain parts. So I don't believe any of it. Because if we can make up certain parts, we can make up the whole thing. And there you go. There's your fucking narrative right here. Bam, feed you a piece of shit, you're gonna eat it. You're gonna like it too. Because that's the identity of it. Thought, correlative, and maker. You just sort of say, well, boom, explosion from the head going down the center of a spectral mind that doesn't even want to look at everything else. Because it says it does. It says it does. Oh, freedom, yes. But not that kind of freedom. No. We don't want to go to that level, We don't want to risk anything else. We don't want to risk our lives for our freedom anymore. Of course not. The idea of a centered thought that makes from a couch that makes everybody go, wow, that's enough. That's enough. Just throwing yourself in Tabasco sauce, you're not going to do that. Oh no, you're not going to do what your, parents did. Correct? Well, except you are. You're doing the exact same thing. Even worse, in fact. Your ignorance is a total, it's not even bliss anymore. You're susceptibly breaking down. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The pudding that you're eating from everything. From television. Or, heck, even if you don't pay attention to television, calling everybody a simpleton that doesn't fix anything either. Breaker, maker, collaborator. Boom. You break everything in your substance, you don't have anything else to break except other people. Yeah, misanthropy and apathy, yeah. But see, the joke is, even if you're sort of centered to say, I know everybody else feels that way, but I still can't accept your view. Aha! Then you've already done worse than them. Because you can see past them, you can see past everybody else's identity, but somehow you can't see past somebody that doesn't agree with you. That somehow doesn't make you better still. Now I'd rather actually be in the company of those people, because even you, who see past all these things, cannot see past everything else and say, well, maybe he has his point for himself. The breaker point of a mind state that doesn't work with petitions on a list anymore, because it doesn't change anything. Well, of course it doesn't, because we've already become to the point where a reversal can lead to a fast state forward, but it doesn't lead to the fast state forward that everybody else wants. So, and everybody else, meaning people that don't agree, people that pay attention, because paying attention does not mean reading the newspaper. It doesn't necessarily mean I don't do that. Boom. It doesn't mean listening to the news, but it doesn't necessarily mean I don't pay attention to all that stuff as well. I pay attention to everything, but I research other things too, and I get deeper into the subject that they've released, and I've said, okay, let's find out if this is true. Oh, and then I found other stuff. I'm like, nope, this isn't true. Why'd they say it to us? Because they don't want us to believe this, and they don't want us to look for this information on our own, when it is available at our fucking fingertips right here. So then you fall back into the old stereotype of a horse's, menagerie that just goes by. That's what you become. You kind of just, you hear the name the whole day and you go, man, that's going to fix everything else around me. And that's going to make me go over every sound, every color, every idea. I'm going to become the colorful horse from Wizard of Oz or something, And then you just sort of break into the feral state of a mind that doesn't want to connect anything anymore. Because you don't want to connect anything. You want to just circle everything that makes everybody go around and make everybody go around without the circle. Because it's easier. Oh, yes, it's easier. The idea of a centered thought that doesn't contradict itself is not easy. Yeah. And it also comes with another price. It's a pretty simple price. Oh, what if you're wrong? So what? Again, it's never wrong to see the government as doing something wrong. It's not, because it's happened before, where people have considered government doing something wrong. And now we look back at the 60s era and we always say it's bad of the people that were out there protesting and actually out on the grasslands or whatever, or somewhere. And yeah, that was a bad thing. They shouldn't have done that. What the hell happened? Nothing. But see, that's the whole point. People can't do that because we look back at it with a kind of a, cringy nose, cringy eyes, cringy everything, disposition in the mouth, kind of like that despising mouth of a, kind of showing the teeth off like I would destroy them if that ever happened again. And that's what happens. If you go and listen to music or go to Coachella or, fall back into a nuisance of, all these pickly Pete's or whatever, then you got no worries, If you got pogs, if you got menageries of old senses of living, then you have no worries. Your ideas come back full center without a mark of thought, because all of a sudden everything's okay with those things. Nobody gets upset with you, and you don't get upset with anybody. Well, except you might get upset with people who talk about other things, and you don't want to hear about that. Well, you could say simply, well, we shouldn't be talking about that. Instead of saying, I don't believe that. That's ridiculous. See, it's okay to say the first part of that. Second part, kind of ridiculous on your part. Because if you really don't believe something, why would you say somebody's ridiculous for believing it? In fact, the long history of things doesn't need instant gratification. That isn't how anything works anymore. And it's an easy way to look at that. Most things in government, and I think most people know this, if there's any corruption, will not happen right away. They never happen right away. Enron was around for a very long time. So, what happened to them, a lot of people knew something was up. But of course, by the time they got to them, done. Basking in the guilt of everything else. I mean, let's look at it simply. The identity of things aren't going to come fast. But it's easy to just push down things and say it's not realistic because somebody would talk, somebody would talk, somebody would talk. Not if they're getting paid. If they got the money, why the fuck would they care about other people? Who cares? They have their money. They have what they need throughout their lifetime. They're protected in that sense. They may not be protected completely, but they don't give a fuck. I mean, it's pretty simple. Because it's like saying that the people that are misanthropic and apathetic will start talking and actually caring. The only reason they would want to talk or say anything at all is if they cared at all. But if they don't, which I sincerely believe is the truth about this, why the fuck would somebody talk or give any information out if they don't care about humans? It doesn't matter how much of a... We've seen so many movies of people dying. We've seen so many explosions. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of repetual acceptance of it, if it happens. Ever. Whether it was a big event or a small event. It's acceptable at this point. It becomes sort of a daily activity almost. An hourly activity, if you must. But see, that's the thing. Well, it's not acceptable. But it is. And there you go. The nosedive of an air hole. And so we begin again with a nosedive of a mark that doesn't come with any sense. So I end with no quarters and no thought. The double steel imperial dragon that watches you as you sleep can continue forever. And so I stop at this point to let you linger on your thoughts. Mark me, mark you, mark it.